Let's talk about 4 big truths about asexuality. So I am recording this video during 2025's Ace Week. It's Ace Week. If you are unfamiliar with Ace Week, it is 1 week out of the year, every October, that we raise awareness and celebrate all things ace. And for ace content creators, it's usually the week of the year that we try to shuffle out our best stuff. And what I wanted to do with this year's Ace Week video is focus on some important truths about the ace experience that I think are really important and valuable to talk about. If you've been around the ace block for a while, a lot of these truths aren't going to be any big surprise to you, but in a week like Ace Week, it's good to remember and remind ourselves of these important truths and make a mental note that these are things when we are talking about asexuality to other people, that these are good things to bring up, to remind them, to prioritize, and to forefront. Now, if you are here and are unfamiliar with the ace community, welcome. Thank you for joining us. These 5 truths are things that people often get wrong about the ace experience. And a lot of these truths are things that are misunderstood in ways that form the foundation of ace discrimination, ace microaggressions, aphobia. Most importantly to me, this is just a celebration of 5 things that I think are incredibly beautiful about the ace experience, things that are ours, things that we can celebrate. Asexuality is a spectrum. When a lot of people think about asexuality, they sort of think of asexuality as one identity among other sexual orientations, right? There are gay folks, there are lesbian folks, bi, there are pan, there are omnisexual folks, and then there are asexual folks. It's often framed as being one sexual orientation, one kind of experience. But asexuality is a spectrum. It contains so many different identities under that big umbrella asexual. You've got demisexual folks, gray sexual folks, ace flux, ace spike, agosexual, reciprosexual, apothesexual, all of the ace micro labels. And all of these different identities are forms and expressions of asexual experience. They all describe slightly different relationships to sex and sexual attraction, different ranges of experience of sexual attraction. Some there's none, some there's a little. All of these experiences are ace. And I think that's beautiful. It is beautiful to imagine the ace experience and all the people under it as experiencing this beautiful spectrum of experiences. There are so many different ways to be us, and I think that is absolutely lovely. Asexuality is not a monolith. Many people don't just wrongly assume that there is one way to inhabit asexuality. There's also the misconception that there is really only one way to express asexuality. That assumption, of course, is that if you are asexual, that means you do not have sex, and often the assumption is that you don't have relationships either. And wow, could that not be further from the truth? Asexuality is not a monolith. There are many different ways that people who are asexual can enter into relationships. An abundance of relationship types, an abundance of relationship styles and practices. Ace people can and are a part of all of them. And there is also an abundance of ways that ace people can relate to sex itself. Some ace folks do have sex, some don't. Some engage in it sometimes, some engage in parts and pieces. But taken all together, there is no one way that asexuality is expressed. So advice I always give when you are encountering someone who is ace, never assume what their life looks like. The only way to really understand how an asexual person inhabits and lives their asexuality is to ask. There is nothing that you can assume. It is also important to remember here that there are a number of different intersections of other kinds of experience that can change how asexuality is experienced and expressed. For example, the intersections of asexuality and disability, the intersections of asexuality and religious experience, the intersections of asexuality and socioeconomic class. All of these identities and their intersections with asexuality will change how that individual's experience of asexuality feels to them and how they can and choose to express it. So even beyond just the simple mechanics of asexuality, the other parts of who we are change how we live and express it. So asexuality's expression is so far from monolithic, it's rather unbelievable. And again, isn't that like a wonder of asexuality? This is not something that we are confined to inhabit in only one way. When we are asexual, there are still such a vast array of options and a vast array of expressions that we can inhabit, that can feel good and right to us. It's an entire wondrous cornucopia of expressions all within itself. Asexuality is not white. Anytime we are thinking and talking about asexuality, it is always important for us to remember and center the idea that overwhelmingly representations and voices of asexuality that are out there and are easily accessible for consumption are primarily white voices. Hi, you are looking at one of them. Because white voices are so centered in the representations of asexuality that we have out in the world, it leads many people to believe that the white experience of asexuality is the default experience of asexuality. And if you are thinking that this is sounding a little like white supremacy to you, you're right, it is. The contributions and experiences of Black, Indigenous, and other aces of color are decentered and deprioritized in a lot of ace spaces. But without those voices and without those experiences, we do not have a complete picture of what it means to be ace. Black, Indigenous, and other aces of color all have unique experiences of aceness and unique experiences of discrimination at their ace intersection, because their experience of race and racial discrimination shapes and colors the way they experience aceness. It is always important and good to seek out Black, Indigenous, and other aces of color, their content, their stories, their essays, their voices. To that end, in the description of this video, I'm going to leave you a list of Black, Indigenous, and other aces of color whose content I enjoy very much, whose voices I think you should be following and supporting and sharing. If we are all truly committed to the idea of liberation for aspec folks, we need to make sure that we are including, centering, uplifting, celebrating, and listening to the voices of Black, Indigenous, and other aces of color. Quick thank you to my Patreon subscribers who make videos like this possible. If you want to join the fun there, you can get bonus videos, early access to videos here, and discounts on workshops. Or if you just want to support me, here my YouTube channel memberships offer members-only shorts, early access to future videos, loyalty badges, and custom emojis for comments. Links are in the description for Patreon, or hit the join button. Asexuality is part of the queer experience. Ace folks know that just being ace out in the regular world is a pain, right? Because so many people don't think that we are real and exist. To add insult to injury, this is also true sometimes in queer spaces. There are many members of the queer community outside of ace circles who also don't think we are real or exist. And there are an equal number of people who do believe we exist, but do not believe that we belong in the queer community. But asexuality is absolutely a queer experience. So often, because lesbian and gay experience were so central in the beginning of the movement and had so much power in shaping the values and ideas and goals of the queer rights movement, queerness is often equated with being gay or lesbian. And queerness is something much bigger, more broad, and more beautiful than that. We can think about queerness as being any experience that confronts, critiques, and brushes up against the normativities like heteronormativity, allonormativity, compulsory sexuality, amatonormativity that govern our world. If you are living in opposition of those norms and social expectations, it is likely you are living a queer experience. So asexuality sits firmly within that conception of queerness. Asexuality is an experience, no matter how one inhabits it, that lives and exists in opposition to, in conflict with, allonormativity and compulsory sexuality. No matter what its expression, whether you're an ace who has sex or an ace who doesn't, whether you're an ace who is in relationships or an ace who isn't, your existence is in conflict, is in confrontation with those normative forces. And that experience is queer. Granted, you don't have to use queer as a word to describe yourself. Our personal identification labels, that is entirely a decision that we make for ourselves. We choose what feels good to us. But in the really broad sense, when we are talking about queerness in that big overarching umbrella sense, asexuality absolutely deserves a space within that conception. Aceness is as queer as any other experience under the queer umbrella. If you are watching this during Ace Week, happy Ace Week. If you are watching this at a time other than Ace Week, I hope you had a happy Ace Week. If you like this video, like it, leave a comment, tell me suggestions for other kinds of videos you'd like to see. There are ways in the description for you to connect to the Ace Dad Advice Project in other ways, including other social media sites, joining me on Patreon for bonus content, or memberships here on the YouTube channel to get a little extra bonus content too. But hopefully, whatever you do, I want you to go out there and live your best Ace life. And as always, friends, I'm glad you're here.